Hello and welcome to Grody and Unprofessional. My name is Justin McMenamy and my mission is to share both profitable and painful leadership lessons acquired over a 20-year career as a misfit in corporate America. In this episode, I contend that directive leaders receive minimal effort from their team while their team is being watched. On the other hand, inspirational leaders motivate the team to exert max effort even when no one is watching. Across the arc of our lives, each of us amass a lengthy list of leaders under which we study, play, and work. I would venture a guess that by the time most people enter the workforce, they have been led or instructed by more than 100 individuals. While the memories of most of our coaches, teachers, and bosses fade into the fog of the past, there is a subset of leaders for which the mention of their name elicits emotion. Let me ask you, how many leaders from your past spark positive memories? Who are the leaders which the mention of their name trigger emotions like gratitude, thankfulness, or admiration? Now let's run the opposite experiment. How many leaders from your past elicit negative emotions? Those whom the mere mention of their name elicit anxiety or frustration. While I am by no means a psychologist, and I don't play one on TV or as a podcaster, it does seem that negative experiences with leaders have an outsized impact on our personal view of leadership. Otherwise stated, it is amazing how seared into our psyche poor leadership experiences become. For many new leaders, their initial leadership approach is heavily influenced by the avoidance of styles painfully experienced from their leadership. Over the years, I have challenged myself to move beyond the simple and reactive, I am never going to be like Coach so-and-so, in search of broader leadership lessons which I can apply to later situations. In fact, it has been the analysis of ineffective leaders that has most aided my search for leadership principles. Some would call this turning lemons into lemonade. Today, I want to share some of my leadership lemonade lessons and principles I think we can pull from them. One of my earliest memories observing leadership styles and their impact on team motivation, effort, and output occurred where so many others first form opinions on leadership: the high school athletic field. To set up the story, my high school baseball coach was cut from the cloth of a military drill instructor. The whole shooting match, the thick neck, the clenched jaw, a constant scowl, a blue-eyed stare, the crew cut, and a pocket full of put-downs. He not only looked the part of a drill instructor, he also acted the part. Before the season even started, he informed each hopeful player that tryouts would require neither a baseball glove nor a bat, because anyone that was unable to run a mile in the allotted time, climb a rope to the top of the gym, and bench press their weight was not a ball player. During tryouts my junior year, there was just over 100 students that came out for the program. As part of the selection process, we were lined up in formation across the school parking lot and drilled. The parking lot became a sea of push-ups, sit-ups, burpees, and bicycle kicks. For each drill, we as the team would count off each rep while the coach paced up and down the lines of hopeful ball players. 1, 2, 3, 4. At the end of each row, with his back to the ranks, he would pause and stare off towards the baseball field on the horizon. An organizationally amazing thing happened each time he paused with his back to the ranks. Without prior planning, all 100 of us suspended exercise while continuing the count. 5, 6, 7, 8, resuming as the coach turned back toward the team. Most of the tryout was spent avoiding the all-seeing eye of Sauron, hoping to avoid being called a name, embarrassed in front of the team, or commanded to run a punishment lap around the school. As a player, most of us approach practice as an exercise in energy and morale preservation. meaning we hope to survive the practice intact both physically and psychologically. During the season, we played Edwardsville High School, known to be one of the best baseball programs in the metropolitan area. As it turned out, they lived up to expectations that year. They finished the season a perfect 40-0 and were ranked the #1 high school baseball team in the entire country. With the same clarity that I remember counting phantom push-ups during tryouts, I remember stepping off the bus at Edwardsville High School the afternoon that we were set to play them. As we unloaded from the bus, the entire Edwardsville baseball team was on the field performing a choreographed medley of pregame drills. There were hitting drills, infield drills, outfield drills, and cutoff drills, all seamlessly and simultaneously taking place in every corner of the field. We, like any other high school baseball team, sat in the dugout. Our shirts were untucked, our hats were on backwards, and we were slowly getting our cleats on as we watched this show of force taking place on the field. Then a most unexpected thing happened. Across the school parking lot, beyond the right field fence, a door to the school opened. Out walked the Edwardsville baseball coaching staff. My eyes shot back toward the drills taking place on the field as I reassessed the performers. The previously unobserved was now in plain sight. Not a single person on the field was an adult. Every person hosting and participating in the drills was a player, a student, a teenager. I could not believe this. I couldn't imagine this. Nothing happened on our team unless the bulldog was growling. How was it that this team was so focused, so coordinated, so intentional, without supervision or external motivation? In the visitors' dugout on that spring afternoon, I internalized for the first time the existence of multiple leadership styles, as well as what seemed to be a direct correlation between leadership style and the resulting motivation, effort, and dare I say results of the team. In our dugout was a coach which had established himself as the primary opponent of his players. The relational posture he took and the means and methods by which he communicated conveyed that his will was superior to and in opposition of our will. Our team, as a result, rallied around the mission of minimizing pain, be it physical or emotional, that the coach would inflict through his will, his words, or his actions. As a player, almost every action was taken with a degree of fear, not fear of letting the team down, but rather fear of public humiliation. The resulting organizational norm was one in which players gave minimum effort when under his direct supervision, and almost no effort absent of his glaring scowl. In stark contrast, the team in the home dugout operated as a team bought into the mission that the opponent was the opponent. In order to defeat the opponent, everyone on the team aimed to bring the best version of themselves to the field. And part of bringing the best version of themselves was preparing even when no one was watching. Motivation appeared to be intrinsic for the Edwardsville team, while motivation was almost entirely extrinsic for our team. On that day, sitting in that dugout, the first seeds of understanding were planted of what it means to lead inspirationally rather than via might is right. Over a decade later, I came across works like Clayton Christensen's Innovator's Dilemma, in which the Harvard professor writes, one could take two identically skilled sets of people and place them into different organizations, and what they achieve would likely be significantly different. Insights like these and many others have added greater depth of meaning to the events I witnessed on that high school baseball field in 1998. The leadership principle is that effective leadership is not measured by how much work you can coerce out of your team while you oversee their work. Breakthrough leadership is seen when individuals are intrinsically knit together in support of the stated mission and are willing to put in the work even when the leader is unable to be present. The role of a leader is to be a force multiplier, not a force manipulator. One last comment regarding the coaching staff of the Edwardsville baseball team. 23 years after the undefeated season of 1998, a player from the team was quoted in the Edwardsville Intelligencer as saying, "All three of the coaches were like gods to us. They treated us with respect and taught us a ton about life and, of course, about baseball." That is the legacy of breakthrough leadership. I picked up another lemonade lesson during my tenure as a design engineer deep within the bowels of a large multinational mining equipment company. As with most established world-class organizations, the speed of any given program is entirely dictated by the pace of governance. Steering committees, departmental alignment, budget jockeying, and a myriad of metrics. Quick editor's note. My goal here is not to paint processes and metrics in a bad light. We will take on that topic in a later episode. My point here is to highlight that within most modern large organizations, the individual or even the local team is largely constrained to the speed of the failings, the speed of the machine. Working within a bureaucratic organization can be a lot like Los Angeles traffic. You are helpless to go any faster. Everyone is frustrated with one another and blames one another for the gridlock. And the whole thing was caused by some guy that you will never meet. I have experienced few things professionally more frustrating than attempting to accelerate a program within a bumper-to-bumper bureaucracy. It is the epitome of accountability without empowerment. Anyway, during one of these 3-year bumper-to-bumper development projects, a subcomponent within the system was found to contain a critical design flaw. To implement the fix, the component team was required to re-release hundreds of engineering drawings, a task which, according to bureaucratic best practices, would take over a year to complete. In this situation, however, the design flaw was so well known and the required work was so Herculean that a modern-day organizational miracle emerged as the Red Sea of bureaucracy parted. Over a period of a few weeks, the organization pulled together to streamline the prints releasing process, enabling the component team to pursue the otherwise impossible task. With the newfound excitement of a corporate hall pass, multiple teams rallied around the task at hand, providing tons of extra effort and creative solutions to the problem. A couple weeks into the sprint, some regularly scheduled meeting of the minds was held in some ivory tower somewhere. A group of largely absentee executives heard that hundreds of prints needed to be released, and in an extremely short amount of time. In an act of absentee leadership, a mandatory 10-hour workday was instituted for the design team until the work was complete. The inconvenient truth was that the team had been working far more than 10-hour days in the weeks leading up to that edict. I don't imagine it takes an expert to predict what happened next. In one fell swoop, the team's intrinsic motivation to pull together and complete a task was destroyed by an absentee edict. An edict which revealed the leader's lack of engagement and lack of trust in the team. Morale plummeted, and with it so did effort, as those that were once united in a race against the clock were made prisoners to the clock. Over the next weeks, the project slowed to the speed of the command. Engineers now worked with the burden of their leaders' mistrust in their motivations. Lunch breaks began extending. Working hours were tracked to the minute. What was once an intrinsically motivated sprint to be part of something no one had thought possible was replaced by the familiar yoke of an absentee leader's metrics-driven command. In the first story of the high school baseball team, a critic may comment that differences in team performance were more likely a product of genetics, athleticism, or raw talent rather than leadership style. They may concede that leadership style is correlated to the undefeated season. However, it's unlikely to be the leading cause. In the second story of the engineering group, however, the capabilities of the team before and after the absentee edict are identical, the only variable being leadership style. Examples like these and many more bring me again to the assertion of Clayton Christensen that one could take two identically skilled sets of people and place them into different organizations, and what they achieve would likely be significantly different. The role of the leader is to know the talents, passions, skills, weaknesses, and limitations of each team member, and to construct, communicate, and coordinate a battle plan which taps into the talents of the team while mitigating risk. There are several leadership lessons to be internalized and applied from these lemonade lessons. The first, as I see it, is that both leaders demonstrated a narrow set of leadership skills during my time under them. Both, either through nature or nurture, homed in on a single leadership approach which they employed indiscriminately in every situation. This, in practice, is no more effective than using a single golf club for an entire round. It can be done, but not very effectively. As a leader, we must always be about the practice of acquiring and mastering new techniques, improving our ability to read situations, and improving in the discernment of which leadership tools and techniques should be employed into each situation. The ability of a leader to read a situation and then match or adapt their style to the situation is a massive force multiplier in the outcome of the endeavor. The second takeaway to be gleaned from these lemonade lessons is just how much more potent intrinsic motivation is when compared to external motivation. Few can match the sustained effort of a person or team intrinsically motivated to attain a goal which they believe in and believe they can attain. A role of the leader is to be the caretaker of the relationship between the team and the goal. The leader must be the evangelist of both the meaningfulness and the attainability of the goal. The leader should seek above all else to be viewed as an enabler of the team toward the goal, as opposed to becoming either an indifferent referee or, worse yet, a hindrance to the team's pursuit of the goal. One temptation common to all leaders, particularly when projects are falling behind, is to revert to more direct methods of external motivation. This could be through threats, it could be through public shaming, or even the well-worn passive-aggressive daily status meeting, in which the leader reminds the team that they are behind and tells the team what they are going to do about it. Now, leaders often feel that the daily status meeting equates to them rolling up their sleeves and help to motivate the team. And don't get me wrong, I'm not opposed to a daily status meeting. I've used them many times. But as a leader, ask yourself, or better yet, ask your team, is the team more or less excited to take on the day following your morning status meeting? Are the team's actions throughout the day in response to tasks you directed them to do, or in response to your commander's intent and your energy and passion for the mission. As a leader, you must understand that high-performing, self-motivated individuals, the ones that you wish your organization had more of, they often perceive external motivation techniques as untrusting and disrespectful. Therefore, improperly applying external motivation to an intrinsically motivated person is a sure recipe for morale collapse and throughput reduction. So what then of the people in our organization that are not intrinsically motivated? They absolutely exist, and we as leaders must have a strategy. My belief is that external motivation should be a precision-guided leadership technique, not an indiscriminate technique. Meaning, external motivation should only be applied to those that are unwilling or unable to demonstrate intrinsic motivation. Back to the high school baseball team. A portion of the team would be in the weight room before school with or without an edict. Why? Because they believed in themselves, they wanted to improve as players, and they wanted to see the team win. Another subset of players, if left to themselves, would do the absolute minimum to remain on the team. The ability of a leader or a coach to lead the self-motivated in one manner and the otherwise unmotivated in another manner is to maximize the motivational energy across the entirety of the team. In most organizations, the indiscriminate application of external motivating techniques, otherwise called managing to the least common denominator, has the effect of drawing the effort of the unmotivated upward to a minimum tolerable level while simultaneously demotivating and therefore decreasing the effort of those that would otherwise provide the most energy towards attaining the goal. One method I have employed, even when taking on new groups, is to lead in public as if the entire team is intrinsically motivated. This gives an initial benefit of the doubt to each person in the organization, both those that have been historically self-motivated, as well as those that claim that previous leadership was the cause for their lack of motivation. In parallel, I am observing the effort of each team member and initiating individual meetings to provide external directive, external motivation to the minority that do not appear to be intrinsically motivated. I have also found that all employees in leadership must demonstrate a degree of self-motivation. A leader that requires continuous external motivation to produce consumes an inappropriate amount of your time and energy. Therefore, the situation must be addressed when a leader is not demonstrating self-motivation, ideally through coaching, often through a new career opportunity. As we wrap, I want to clarify my intentions behind episodes like this. I have zero desire to turn these stories or this forum into an opportunity to vent or seek revenge. Most likely, the leaders represented in these lemonade lessons never knew the impact that their approach had on the motivation and output of their organizations. The reality is that leaders aren't perfect. And leadership is an imperfect science. It is impossible as a leader to act and to interact without error in all situations from all vantage points. If you choose to pick up the mantle of leadership, there will be unfortunate outcomes and unintended consequences which occur because of your actions and decisions. A differentiator between the mediocre leader and the meaningful leader is your willingness to analyze leadership failure, to investigate leadership missteps, both yours and others. Not to the end of laying blame, not to the end of enacting revenge, but to the end of improvement. Performing an autopsy on situations in which you or other leaders have driven demotivation amongst the troops is a critical source of learning and improving as a leader. If you have lemonade lessons from your past in which you have learned from leadership failure, I would love for you to share those stories with me by emailing me at justin@grody.io. If I personally have been the cause of a lemonade lesson in your career, you can reach me through AOL Instant Messenger. My screen name is Queso Diablo, which of course is Spanish for cheese Diablo. Thanks for your time. Let's do this again soon.